right, well, I think we can get started.
Okay.
I hope everyone had a happy new year. And now that Bob's here, we can kick off with we wanted to talk, Bob, about the meeting that you and Matt and some other folks had with the new Hawai'i County administration.
And there's other communications as well
Yes.
with Tarnas, and we're going to be imminently reaching back out to John Birch. But the mayor made time for us and brought in all of his staff. We had planning staff and public works director, his new public works director, and his what you might call chief of staff.
Yeah.
Bill, yeah. So it was a good turnout. I mean, it reflected the fact that he was taking this issue seriously and that he needs to understand it. We brought him a long way on a learning curve. The staff really understood a lot more of the details than he did. And when we got to the discussion about getting funding for the road into the county capital budget, he looked around the room and he said, "Who's in charge of the capital budget?" And you know, all of his staff looked at each other around the room and said, "Which one of us is going to tell him that he is?"
Oh, really?
So it was, you know, it was one of those embarrassing moments. But, anyway, he's basically on board with us. He's definitely sympathetic to getting the road built, but I don't think he understands all of the complexity of what it's going to take to have it happen. So anyway, we laid out the history for him. We explained to him that you know, that this all goes back 20 years to the early approvals for the Waikoloa Heights development, and that the county had more recently put into the approvals for that development a requirement that Waikoloa Heights contribute to the transportation infrastructure for the village by either widening the north end of Haniolo or building a road out to Queen K. And that now John Birch has basically opted to build it out to Queen K and not the widening of Haniolo. But none of that's in writing, so we don't have any firm commitments. And so we asked the mayor and the new planning director, Jeff Darrow, to require that Waikoloa Heights formally state their intent to exercise the option of building out the Queen K. We want that in writing so that it becomes an enforceable obligation. Because at this point, they still are left with the option and could back away from this at any time. And so we want to eliminate that option of backing away and make it clear that this is the only option going forward. So that's one of the things that we put in our follow-up. At the end of the meeting, I said to the mayor, I'm going to summarize the meeting for you. We will send you an email. We will lay out everything that we discussed and what we want you to do. And he thanked me for that. He said, "Oh, okay, you know, great. I look forward to seeing that." It was like, you know, we're developing his action plan for him because this is not something that he's used to doing. So we did that. And anybody wants to see it, you can see it. We haven't posted it. We haven't put it on the website because we wanted to keep it not confidential. It's not confidential, but we didn't. Yeah, we didn't.
People didn't need to see.
Yeah, but it's very detailed. It goes step by step two objectives. The first objective is getting everything needed to make sure we have an emergency road by this summer. The second objective is to get everything we need to make sure there's a permanent arterial road from the north end to Queen Cay as soon as we can. And basically what we said to the mayor is we want to make sure this is done during your term of mayor. This should not carry on again to another mayor. We've got to get this done. So for getting the emergency road in place, the permits are still not issued for the excavation of the right-of-way, just for the emergency road. That's still pending. So that's our item number one. That has to happen. You know, we flag that as something that needs to happen right away.
Something like there's just a pile of permits pending, or is this one pending for a specific reason? Could they tell us, or anyone on the planning team?
You mean, why has it not been approved?
Yeah, like is it pending
No,
because somebody's wrong with
no, I
request?
mean, no one there was in charge when the permit applications were filed.
Yeah.
They've only been on the job, as of that date, they had been on the job for 21 days.
Got it, okay.
Just carry on.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't even know there were permits pending. We had to tell them,
Yeah.
right? So we're telling them, that's happening. You gotta get those permits issued so that John Birch can get his bulldozers out there and start excavating the road. So that's the kind of detail that we had to walk through with everybody in the room. And so we're really the carriers of the history, you know? We're the ones who are keeping everybody else up to date on what's happening. And then the next step is we've got to get the interchange, or the intersection, it's not an interchange, the intersection with Queen Cay built by the state. So that's the other piece of the puzzle here for the emergency road. And that involves getting money into the state legislative budget for 2025 this session. And that is something that we've been in communication with David Tarnas about, and with Ed Sniffen, who's the director of HDOT. So we had met with HDOT, and we reported that in our last meeting back in October, and Sniffen said that he would be definitely moving that forward, and he would get a cost estimate to Tarnas in time for the state budget. Tarnas tells me, after I just wrote him Sunday night, and he's saying, I don't have anything from Sniffen yet. I don't have what I need. I don't have a number to put in the budget. We need to get Sniffen to respond. And that he had approached Sniffen back in the middle of December, just before Christmas, asking for that number, and has no response. So it wasn't even like, you know, Sniffen had excuses. He hasn't answered. So that's one of our next steps. We're gonna go back to the mayor and ask the mayor to contact Sniffen and kind of light a fire under his ass if we can. You know, I'm not sure how aggressive we can be in doing that, but that's something we're trying to figure out exactly how to approach that. And then, of course, John Birch can't finish his road unless there's an intersection to connect to. So those are the moving parts related to what happens this summer. And then as far as the permanent road, what Sniffen said he needed from us, or from the county, was a cost estimate. That's what John Birch is telling us he will have as soon as he finishes his engineering report, which he told us he expected to have by this month. So we're now about to go back to John and say, where are you? Do you have your engineering report? Is it done? What's the number? And then the next question for John is, how much of that number is your boss, the Summers, Charles Summers, the head of Waikoloa Heights, owner? How much is he willing to put up? Is he willing to do the whole thing or some part of it? So that's farther down the road. And basically what we said to the mayor was, we've got this year, 2025, to get the emergency road open and to get a funding package together for the permanent highway. So when we come to the 2026 legislative session, we know how much money we're going to ask the legislature for. We're going to know how much we ask the county council for in the county budget, and how much is going to come from any federal source if we can find one. So that's the timeline that we've laid out with him. So the next step is to just get a number from Sniffen that David Tarnas could use to put in the state budget. And that's kind of the big picture where we are at the moment. And any thoughts that you have about how to engage the mayor in getting him to step up with HDOT at Sniffen would be welcome, because that's something I want to try to get done tonight. I want to email the mayor, but I wanted to do it after this meeting so we can discuss any thoughts that anybody has here about how best to pitch the mayor on that.
Well, how about one of those other meetings like they had with the water department where we try to get the mayor, would he come to one of these meetings?
I think he would come.
And if
We can ask him.
all our neighbors, and brought him and had a full house, maybe he'd know.
He's gonna be here. I just booked a meeting at the school for him. He's gonna be here for a talk story, but it's not specifically for us. It's a talk story for the whole community in March. I believe it's unofficially the 19th. The school hasn't got back to me from 5 to 7:30.
19th of March.
5:30 to 7. March 19th.
So we can organize around that event.
Yeah, I told him I was gonna get volunteers to help to communicate out and to get the word out so we can be meeting and greeting the community and really talk it out.
What would he hear that he hasn't heard before?
He's been,
I agree to get him,
well, he's been hearing for years, a year and a half. I mean, I
Because
guess
his time is so limited. Well, how long is his term?
2 years.
4 years.
But
Okay, we don't want to wait that long.
But there's a meeting tomorrow night, a one-day community association meeting, and Dave and Tim are gonna be there to discuss the 2025 legislative, but, what they're planning on working on. And, I can email you or I saw, and I put it on next door for their, meeting.
It's
but-
here at the bottom.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I hadn't read it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can submit questions. So you can direct a question to Tim and Dave and just, to just have it bubble in the meeting and talk, so the word is out.
So that's up in Moynihan
Yes.
Tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I should
At
plan
Cap.
to go,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Okay.
Matt was thinking about going.
I'm going.
Yeah, well, we can go together.
Yeah. I'll have to call you.
Yeah,
But you're, sorry, Julie, you're saying you could submit questions.
You
ahead
can
of
submit
time?
questions. Yeah, it was on my post.
Yeah.
I think it was to WCA community. I can't remember what it was, but it was at the bottom of the post because I did the whole presser on my post. It said, please submit your question. It was Nancy, Patty, so you can pretty much, you're wide open to write.
Is the mayor gonna be there?
Mayor's not gonna be
So
there.
just Tim and.
Tim, yes, it's a state legislature.
I see, okay.
And I believe that, of course, James and also Kimball will be at the meeting talking about, or just bringing up stuff locally, but the mayor's not gonna be at that one.
right.
Yeah.
The March 19th though, can you let me know when that is confirmed?
Yes.
For TiVo, because I think it is a good idea to email our
Oh, yeah.
list. And he, we've invited him down before. He was at the candidates night. He's heard from us, but there's no harm in not letting them
Yeah.
Stop.
What's the format? Like, are people ask questions in real time? Like, you know, is it gonna be like
For
open mic?
his talk story,
Yeah, March
I think he's gonna be introducing, the cabinet,
Okay.
and, so I punched about 6 things at the final paragraph of my letter. And I said, first and foremost and most paramount is the second access road. So I said, talk about, you know, Pu'unui Park's getting work done right now. And I brought up, you know, the sirens and the third siren and all this other stuff. But I just said, you know, the talking points at least.
Yeah.
Bring that out before everybody starts coming back. The intersection of the roundabout.
Yeah, well, speaking of that intersection, well, you were probably gonna say the same thing. so go
Yeah,
ahead.
well, I just saw it today on Facebook, Michael posted a whole thing about the roundabout and that it's still going forward where most of the village doesn't want it, we all want just a stop lane.
Right.
And then it's to be constructed in the 2026, 27,
Yeah.
while we're still with one emergency road, maybe another one. I mean, is that what you're talking about? Is a second emergency road?
That would
Yes.
seem-
Okay.
Yeah.
So that may or may not be here, but we're gonna have all this construction going
Right.
with no real
Correct.
Clear,
other
easy
way,
exit.
easy exit.
Correct.
Okay. So now we have
Correct.
7,000 people still trying to get out of one road. And the only intersection we have is gonna be under construction.
I know. I've lived here 22 years. I've been there, done that.
So
I did a CIP 8 years ago.
This whole thing
I know.
is
It
not
makes
making
no
sense.
sense.
The only good thing is that Waikoloa Road's a little bit wider, so we can make 2 lanes going down. So they did do
Well,
a
we
good
should be
thing.
able to get 3 lanes down.
They should.
One lane up for emergency vehicles, but
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I know.
this just is not.
And if they build it, if they do that intersection during fire season, it's even worse,
Yeah.
right? Like, we all want it, but like, it's still.
Well, you know,
For what is fire season now?
What is it, more?
Yeah.
All the time.
It's-
Yeah.
Today,
They're
It's
having
anytime.
major fires in California now.
Yeah, and it's
You
not
know,
really.
this
fire
is not,
season yet.
it's not fire
We
season.
just had our first rain in, what, months, I feel like, yeah.
If you could call it
That
that.
was
Yeah.
drizzle the other night.
But you have to understand is like,
Yeah.
remember when they did Mamalahoa and whatnot? So they built a secondary road. You know, it was like a temporary road while they were doing a lot of the work up there. This was like, I don't know, 12 years ago, 14 years ago. So I think they're well aware of our situation, and it's not like they're just gonna turn around and.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see that.
Goodfellas doesn't get the job,
I
I'm
think just to
sorry.
get ahead of it though, Julia, like for that March event, if you're, you know,
Yeah.
maybe doing that coordination, could someone from DOT or transportation?
Yeah,
Cause that should come up. That
Oh,
would
yeah.
be
That was
great.
another point. when you
What is
talked
the plan?
yeah.
That just seems incredibly irresponsible to start construction when
I'm
that's
sure
our
they're-
only way out of here.
Yeah, I'm sure.
When is the new traffic light for this
It's
intersection?
it's not a traffic light, I'm thinking, I'm hearing it's a roundabout, yeah.
They're not,
It might be
they're not
doing
gonna
something
change,
around
they're not gonna do it like anymore, that's all,
No lights.
that's all.
Yeah,
It's around.
probably second roundabout.
Because they spend all the money already
Yeah.
doing all the
But the
GS
question
studies.
then,
But, you
okay,
know-
all these studies, all this time, all this money spent, everything's pointing to a light, yet they ignored that.
It wasn't ever pointing to a light, it didn't.
No,
it
that's
didn't
why
get
it's,
to
that
that.
study's all
The
pointing.
study was done
Oh,
by.
did it? That
Dean
was not
Funk.
what I interpreted from
The study,
Luke's thing.
oh, don't trust Eric, Michael Conowitz hasn't been here a long time.
There was
So
a
You might think he does.
survey, but I,
He's
you know,
not an insider.
I always get nervous when somebody says, everybody wants this, because we don't know who everybody is.
We
So
don't.
I think it was a split, there was a lot of split.
There did.
I mean, you start talking about, you know, signal lights and roundabouts, you get
A mess bag.
all over the place. And so I think the study, the engineering study, really led to the decision to go with the roundabout.
Correct.
And there's a lot of misinformation about it.
Yes, there.
I mean, a lot of us would just say, put in a signal light right now while you start working on
Yeah.
something else. But, you know, that's a good thing to do.
Yeah,
But one thing to keep in mind is when there's a fire, there's no power. When there's no power, there's no traffic light. When the traffic light doesn't work, it's not there,
Right, it's.
even if you've installed it. So the roundabout makes it possible for traffic to move without power.
And what people need to understand too about the reason behind the roundabout, they have LOS, levels of service, because they turn around. I did it during COVID where I had them put rubber things to monitor how many cars were going around, because they never did a traffic study for like 10 years. And there's a level of service, and it's really poor from like 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. and from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. And that's when everybody's coming and going from work. And the whole rest of the day, you could shoot a cannon through the intersection because there's hardly anybody there. So and when you really needed the intersection, the light the most, people are making, there's like 5 or 8 different directions people are going, so it's.
People still can't handle the four-way stop.
It isn't a four, it's
It's-
It's two-way,
Yeah.
but it's.
Well,
People think it's a four-way stop.
And they just,
No, I
Before
know.
we get too far into the intersection, I do think it's a really valid point that during construction of whatever it is that's going to happen there, we should bring up our very valid concern that they need to make sure that there's an adequate amount
I
of
think
roads and
that's
services.
was my main point, regardless of whether we get a stoplight or a roundabout. I mean, at this point, whatever is gonna happen is gonna happen. But the construction can't happen when we don't have a good solid way out there.
Well, if the county's working on an evacuation plan, they need to have an interim one that includes what's gonna happen during our construction.
Agreed. And Bob, maybe the
Right.
meeting and inviting DOT, maybe there's a need to develop some key points for DOT as well as the mayor, because your whole issue around when's the intersection gonna be done, and
It's a,
who's paying for that.
it's a county road. It's not a,
Yeah, it's a
we just
county-
swapped it with the state.
It's a county road, but the Hawai'i County portion of the state transportation plan is being reworked right now.
Oh, great.
And so that is a process that I'm involved in, that we ultimately are gonna wanna get the community involved in. We don't have dates yet for when that will be open for public comment. It'll be in the summer, sometime this summer. But when that happens, these are the kinds of issues that we wanna bring up and have people speak to. Because that's the place where those kind of decisions will be made.
Okay, fantastic. Any other thoughts or comments or questions on sort of the administrative, legislative aspect of this before we move on?
Well, I'm thinking that we should also have people send emails to SNF directly and say, just when the groundbreaking happened, Mayor Roth got the governor to come. That was his major contribution to this whole project, was getting the governor to show up and having the governor say the state will pay for the intersection. Well, at this point, I think it's appropriate for us as individuals and as an organization to be writing the governor and saying, okay, how's this happening? Are you putting this in the budget? What is the amount of money that you're going to put up to make sure that this happens? It needs to happen this summer. The emergency road is underway. The developer is starting work on the emergency road. The intersection has to be completed before the fire season starts, referring to August as the fire season. So I think we need to be asking our members to be reminding the governor of his promise, number one, and asking, will it be done before the fire season this year? Just because we don't have the information that we need from Sniffen to move the budget into the legislature. So we've got to kick some ass.
Yeah, so I can have Matt work up maybe some bullet points of what we would want a letter or to Stephen and the governor to say, and then we could share that out with our mailing list. And we could even bring it up at the market, in February as a little handout and say, okay, if you could send this email and try to get.
Well, hopefully by February, there will be a bill with a number in it. We don't wanna wait that long.
Hopefully, no, I mean, we'll do it right away, but if it's still a question mark.
It may be even too late for Tarnas to get a number into the budget. We wait till February.
So are we emailing the governor or is?
I think we should be emailing the governor.
Okay.
And we can copy Ed Sniffen if people are willing to do that. But even if you don't want to copy Ed Sniffen, we should be emailing the governor. Because he showed up here, it was his promise to get it done. We're asking him, where does it stand?
Sniffen was here too.
Sniffen was here too, right?
He was here too,
Yes.
right. But his boss is the
I
governor,
told him sign up for it.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, if
We
something
should
were
attach
doing
the
his
usual
job, we
email.
wouldn't have to ask the governor
There
to
you
do
go.
Remember
anything.
this? Yeah.
Well, he's his
It was a nice day.
He's gonna make it.
Yeah.
Well, yes, but we want the governor asking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do think there should be like a formal maybe response or email from the group officially, and then individual,
Yeah, we can work on that.
residents. Yeah.
But I want
You know,
to
as
reach
a
out.
concerned resident.
Yes, exactly.
Many
Yeah.
voices as well.
Yeah, I'd like to get 10 or 20 emails showing up. the governor.
Yeah, definitely having those bullet points on what to put in our email would be helpful.
That'd be helpful.
Because what's happening in LA right now is a reminder of what we're going to be facing this summer potentially. And we want to remind the governor that he offered to have a solution in place.
Yes.
You know, that's what we want. We want it to look urgent, that we care, that this has to happen now, no more delays.
And wherever you want this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I'll work on that, on the bullet points,
Okay.
and then get it out to our email list.
Can you also just tell us like what the email addresses are?
Yeah, I'll make it like
Okay, good.
as close to
It's
copy
easy
paste
for
as
us.
we
I
can
know.
without it being
I mean,
the same
But
message
then,
over
yeah,
and
we
over
got
again.
tweak it, so it's not.
Yeah, customize it.
Put our
It's
words
not
on it.
really-
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I don't know, does the governor have an email or is it one of those online forms? Some of the Hawai'i County offices, I'll figure this
It's
out.
an online
I
form.
think some of them are online
I've
forms.
already sent
Yeah.
one there.
Yeah, not an email.
Someone get his cell phone number, I think it starts.
Shoot him a text.
Yeah, blow out his phone.
Well,
Remember this picture to you? No.
yeah, I mean, my next step is to get the mayor to call up the governor and sniff. So hopefully we can get that kind of.
Why not get all of them out here for a meeting? The mayor, Sniffen, and the governor.
No, he's having before though.
And that, I mean, if you put that out to the community, a lot of people are gonna show up.
Oh, you mean hosting some kind of talk story type thing with all rescue players?
Yeah.
It's a little premature for that because the focus of that kind of meeting would be the full funding for the permanent arterial road. That's going to be the critical piece of the puzzle ultimately. And we need to know, before we go to that step, what John Birch is going to get his boss to go to. If they're willing to pay for the whole thing, we don't need to go to that level of organizing. If they're not willing to go full funding on this road, then that's exactly the kind of thing that we need to organize.
Well, it was my understanding from Roger in a meeting last month that the developer does not want the government involved in their road. They'll turn it over then.
No, that's part of Birch's pitch
Correct.
to his boss.
Yeah, okay.
But he doesn't have a decision from Summers.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we need to hear.
Yeah.
Is the money going to be in bank for this project or not? And if it's not, then the government will be involved.
Correct.
We have no choice.
Sounding like.
Then we're going to have to go through all those of doing the environmental reviews and the cultural resource reviews and all those kind of things.
5 more years, 10
That,
more years.
that Summers doesn't have to do if he builds the road. So I mean, Birch's point to us and to his boss is, if we do it, we being Summers, it'll get done right away. And there won't all be these other hoops to jump through.
They're gonna still have to do them, really? They wouldn't have to do an EA or an EIS?
No, that was an issue that we discussed with the mayor and
Not if it's
And
built
Jeff-
by private, no.
Jeff said it very
Wrong.
clearly in his view that from the planning standpoint, those requirements do not apply if it's a private developer doing the work on private land.
Well,
If there's no government involved, no government money, no government land.
the government still has to approve of the permits.
Well, they have, the only permits that we know of are these excavation permits.
And then when you're seeing this Burgess gentleman, is he the new homes, the expensive ones down on the end? Now, whatever
Yeah.
happened with that having to build X amount of homes before that road?
That's still in
That's
place.
still-
That's still in place?
Yeah,
Yeah,
still
that's what
what's
we're
legal
asking
to
them
do.
to eliminate,
Oh,
to
okay.
replace that with a new requirement saying it's not an option to either do Paniolo or the Queen K, that it's only Queen K, and to add a date for getting it done.
Because his homes could go up in smoke too.
Yes.
You know?
And he understands, I mean,
You're in the
one of-
back of the bus.
one of the
The rest
clearest,
doesn't get done.
one of the clearest points of agreement when we met with him was that if we get a fire that comes through the community and kills people, in other words, if we have an LA here, he's not gonna sell a lot. He understands that. That's one of the reasons why he wants to get the road. That's part of his pitch to his boss. Is, we don't want people dying here. And
Or what's
we-
going to happen if he says he's gonna do a road and it doesn't happen,
yes.
he could be held responsible if it's not.
Well, he can't be held responsible. That doesn't apply. But they won't sell a lot. And as far as they're concerned, that's all that matters, right?
If these,
Selling the lots.
if these people that are getting ready to buy these homes, and they're $2 million homes, so these people are not idiots, if they can buy a $2 million home. If they start doing their research and, oh, there's only one way out of this neighborhood? No, I'm not living there.
Most
They're not
people
being-
haven't. I
they're
mean,
not
you see
being-
all the people that live
They're
here,
not
they
being
didn't
told
know.
that, so I'll just tell you something
No, they're
that,
not.
it stays right here. So my
We are
argument,
recording a meeting for
Okay.
YouTube, just so you know.
it can go anywhere. Someone I know called one of the salespeople for those homes, just to inquire about the homes. And asked, I've heard this issue of wildfire danger in this community, and only one road in and one road out. And is that a problem for these homes? And the response was, not a problem.
You know,
This is from the salespeople that are selling.
so 2 or 3 years ago, when they first put their Facebook page up, there was nobody that had written on it, I put a comment on there, and I said, isn't there a fire area there? And I understand there's only one way in and one way out, and that was all I wrote. I went on Facebook just to do that, because I'm not a Facebooker anymore, and I don't even know if it's still up there, but it was like just a little lone PS.
It's,
Well, look, we just bought our house 18 months ago. And when we first contacted our realtor, we were saying we wanted to be a one man. And she said, you sure you want to be a one man? It's wet, you know. And so I said, well, where do you think we would want to be? And she said, well, you should look at Waikoloa.
that's called.
And I said, well, I'm concerned about Waikoloa Village because of the fire risk, and I know there was a big fire there a few years ago. And she said, oh, well, it's not a problem. They're putting in another road.
That is the message that is being given to people who are looking to buy.
Yes.
That is a consistent
Oh my
message.
gosh.
So,
That's so unethical.
Because it's in the CDP probably to make it look like.
I mean, we're here for other reasons. We really like the
It's
community.
the sale.
But that's why I'm spending my time on this project.
All right, I want to move on to our, an update on our 501c3 status. We're actually almost at 1 year old.
Wow.
Can you believe Serena, who's technically our finance
Voluntold.
board member,
Yeah.
has
Voluntold. So I never heard that yet.
The group started in April and immediately we submitted the paperwork with the state of Hawaii to officially be recognized as a nonprofit. That was, the intent was never to be a for-profit entity. We, with the help of one of the community residents, we were able to also submit the paperwork to open up the 501(c). It's a $600 application fee, and obviously we didn't have any money at the time, so someone graciously gave us a check. So we submitted that paperwork in June, and December, right after Christmas, I think the IRS finally received our application. They said that we were missing two things, an official bylaws that we also submitted to the state of Hawaii, which the state of Hawaii does not require, and then also if we don't have it, then we can submit an affidavit. So Matt and I did that this week, in fact, the IRS called me on Monday and be like, hey, do you guys have this? Send it over. So we just did that. So in the next, I would say, month, we should be officially recognized federally as a 501(c). C3, I always invert them. But this is really important because we're all volunteers here, right, typically, and people have asked us, can we donate and can we write this off in our taxes? And we've unfortunately not been able to grant them that. Also, my employer, like maybe some of you, match volunteer time or donations. So we'll use it as a way to continue to raise funds and drive advocacy, participate in markets, give out swag, so forth. But the whole plan is that once we're fully established, we can actually have like a financial plan and move forward. So I would say the next 30 days or so.
Yeah,
we're really hopeful, and then we'll officially maybe we'll put that on the website so people can actually donate on the website, get an IRS form. We'll do it all kosher, but to make sure everything's good. But this has been a long process. So yeah,
Fundraise to show.
yeah, we can actually get money, all this stuff. So we'll see. Yeah.
you're on the next one too.
What?
The update on our.
Well, actually, Julia was the one that actually kicked this off in the last meeting. One of the things coming out of the last meeting, I think Julia took the action item, was to look at how we drive more community visibility to this organization and put ourselves in some community communications, including the Waikoloa VA Breeze newsletter, which goes out monthly. There is a process to do that. We have till I think mid-month to submit how much real estate we want. I don't know, do people get that? Is everyone in the WBA?
Breeze.
People are at different HOAs, so I never know. But yeah, in the Breeze newsletter, so it comes out monthly. They're not charging, or maybe they always did, but now they've raised the rates for 2025. So we're gonna start participating in that. I think the initial cost is $20 for like a little piece of one of those pages. We have some money that people have given us from donations and so forth, so we'll fund it, and then the next Breeze in February we'll have something that's a specific call to action. Come to our meetings. This is what we stand for. Our welcome, so forth. So the idea is to drive more visibility, get more traffic to these kind of discussions with the group, and so forth. So maybe a QR code, linking to the website, I don't know, that's when I work on the graphic, but the plan is to use some of our funds to participate in the Breeze moving forward, so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So how, along that same vein,
Yeah.
how do we increase visibility and participation for people who are not part of Waikoloa HOA? Because
Yeah.
remember, this doesn't affect just Waikoloa HOA, it's the village, and the village encompasses
Everybody.
annual estates, it encompasses a whole lot of other people, and we need to be inclusive and not give the impression that this is only about HOA.
I think there's a few things. There's so many HOAs, there's at least 10, I think, on our
Most of
last
them are part
count.
of the WBA.
Yeah, most of them are tied to the WBA, but there's a few at Ponyola Estates and so forth that aren't.
Residents
Over.
in the village are not part of the association.
Right. Well,
Small percentage.
actually, in the WBA budget, they said how many members or like people they encompass, so we can do some math on that, but I think at least 2,000 people are not in the WBA. Yeah,
People
so-
or structures? Because I think there's
I don't
like
know.
3,500
It's the budget
structures.
to
We'll have to look up the exact
Because they
number.
actually put in the budget, like how many homes, how many pay dues and all that stuff, right? So, I don't know, but it's not trivial, it's not like 20 people or 20 homes,
Yeah.
So
it's actually.
we were doing the Waikoloa markets every month.
Right.
We kind of stopped doing them, took a little break, but we want to go back in February, and then we're thinking we'll do like an every other month cadence. Kendra, Bruno, who wasn't able to come tonight, and I have put together a list of community groups that we want to go and speak at to introduce ourselves, so.
Yeah, that's what we talked about.
Lions Club.
November meeting.
Correct, yeah. Do we have that list? And then I've started emailing other organizations, like you guys came to the Hawaiian Electric meeting, we had a lot of people interested in come to that. So I started emailing HWMO and PTA to get us started, to come to the meeting, and then hopefully we get more people interested and have
What
a
about
discussion.
the school, like they must have a newsletter, can something be put into that?
Yeah, so Matt was working with the school, and
Churches?
they don't allow us to put anything into their newsletter, but they did take a flyer and put it into all of the teachers, I don't know, cookies, like all of their little messaging boxes. And then we gave all of the teachers bumper stickers as well, let's say Second Road for Waikoloa. The churches, I mean, if anyone has any connections and wants to post about the meeting in a church bulletin board, that'd be great. I personally do not. So that's definitely a good idea.
Well, have you approached any of those organizations on our list about showing up at their meetings?
Not yet.
The Canoe Club and.
Because I'm willing to do that.
Okay.
That's what mine.
But
Okay.
we need somebody in charge of initiating the contact so that we're not all scattered,
Right.
you know?
You mean someone who already knows someone in those groups?
Well, I mean, if we just have a lead person from our group who's responsible for a certain list, part of the list. You know, I don't think one person can handle the whole list. But if, we want to make sure that there is a consistent point of contact between us and another group.
Yeah.
And it's not a different face every month or every contact, because that doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, that breaks down in a hurry. So, you know, if we've got this list, we should start figuring out who's gonna be the lead contact and then initiate those communications. So you wanna do some of that?
I'm more than happy. I mean, I had said to Matt before, one of my neighbors is really involved with his church, so I'll go to him and see, you know, what connection they might have to, because the churches have some connection across it. But I'm, like Matt, I'm very interested when we get to the point where we start talking about evacuation. To me, that is one of the biggest selling points of the school. And they need a plan, and I mean, there's a number of things we can talk to them about, whether it's a PTA, PTSA, but I think the notion of working with them on developing an evacuation plan is critical.
And Glenn is a member of the Canoe Club, so he can be our contact with them if he's going. We can ask him. But that's what I'm talking about, is making sure that we have responsibilities.
Sure. So far, Kendra and I have been doing outreach, so we've been inviting people to come to our meetings.
To our meetings.
Correct, but we haven't gotten to the other, we haven't started, except we have that list of community groups.
Right.
We haven't started that portion.
I think similar to us, they line up their month or their year of meetings, right, and probably have specific topics they want to cover, so maybe it's like the flip of like, it's really hard to pull people in, but they're already showing up to that, so maybe we go to them and say, hey, we're new here, like, I don't know, we're here, like, you may not know us, oh, and by the way, you know, yada, this is what we stand for. We'll I don't know, we'll figure out a way to give people swag or something, or, you know, but, you know, we'll give out bumper stickers or something.
Yeah, I think
I don't know,
that's.
just to kind of get people to understand. because they're already committing to those meetings versus committing to ours. Does that make
No, I
sense?
understand, there's two portions of it. We
Yeah.
want
Which is the
people to
full
come, but then we also wanna go
Yeah.
to those other meetings. Yeah, it's just a timing thing to coordinate this. So
Oh, yeah.
I've been able to do the one thing.
Well, I think
I
to
haven't gotten to the other part of it, but if
And you
anyone
can do
would
it
like to do
always.
it.
Yeah.
And
Yes, I do have a job as a child, but if anyone would like to help, I love hearing that. That would be
I think that's.
fantastic.
And I
We
think-
have,
I think the going out will get more people coming in.
Correct.
agreed.
Yes.
So we have a wildfire group email that both Matt, me, I don't know, Serena maybe has sent some emails. So we have a singular email account that multiple people check that we could use when we reach out versus it being from Linda or from you.
Okay,
personally.
I see what you're saying.
And so anyone can have that login. There are no secrets in this email account. It's just Matt emailing the mayor all the time.
What about, because I know when we signed that, we gave our email address.
Yeah.
And we were, I think, over at the plaza, the market.
Oh, okay.
But we don't get emails.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys?
I'm just saying.
In the newsletter, I was like,
Right next door, you know.
Yeah, I've been posting on next door as much as I can. It's just me
Okay.
writing the emails, sending out the emails, so
Unless there's like a blast, like, you know, I don't know how.
Well,
survey
that's why we're hoping
marketing,
Breeze
that's
will
what it
help,
is.
but
Okay.
I mean, so,
Gotcha.
just so you guys know, for my business, that's not this, November through January is my busiest time of the year, so I mean, I just cannot write emails and do newsletters from November through January, and then it's gonna happen again in my business from May to September,
well,
so.
we got emails in advance of the candidate forums,
Yeah. Right.
right? Yeah, it was September and October. And then I don't remember seeing one since. So that's what you're saying?
Yes.
Is you just haven't had time to
Yeah,
to
no,
do it?
absolutely.
Is
Yeah.
there-
Okay.
Is there some way you guys can, I mean, I've never used it, but I know a lot of like organizations use that MailChimp thing.
Yeah, we have an email
Oh, you do
server,
have-
we use MailerLite,
Oh, you do?
and I have everyone's email addresses in there. It's kind of a clunky system,
Okay.
like I'm a graphic designer and I know how to do it, but this system is like, it's not so easy.
Oh,
So I could teach it to anybody who wants to.
But are we gonna use this email system then to send out the alert to members asking them to write to governor? Is
For
that,
that, we could just send a Gmail email, it doesn't have to be a newsletter. I was doing the newsletter for like candidates night to put in photos and.
but it's the same list.
Yep, it's the same
It's
list
just
of
an
people.
email.
Yeah,
list.
it's just, are you gonna send it through your Gmail or are you gonna send it through this other service? The other
It's
service,
how formal you want it. Do you
Yeah.
want it like pretty marketing, which is what she did for the candidates, or do you want like a Gmail, like, hey, it's Aslin, da 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 da, right? Like, here's what you need, I need people to do. It's just branding of it.
it's text.
Yeah,
versus-
But
It's
it's
a
all going to
question
the
of-
same people.
It's
Yeah.
a question of how much attention that will draw.
Right,
When it
like-
shows up at people's inbox.
Right, like how much conversion, and yeah, we want people to actually action it, right? So,
Yeah,
but regardless, I think it's a bandwidth issue, right? And it's like, she's the
I hear you.
bottleneck, right? So,
yeah, got
I
it.
mean, not in a negative way, but you're the bottleneck. This is my sister, by the way, so. She's the one that's like, yeah, she's the line
No,
woman, so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
I was
we've all-
hoping Kendra could tag team with me, but then she went and got
yeah.
a busy job herself.
Whoa, and she can't take on.
No, she's
And
at
I'm-
capacity.
She hasn't learned that yet.
Correct.
Kendra.
Yeah.
But,
But I'm still hoping, like, this goes back to our conversation about getting more people at the meetings, because I think there will be faces that show up that can take some of this responsibility. Like I said, this group, we're still in our infancy, so we're still growing. I kind of had to like let go of the expectation of myself, like I'm not a robot, so I can't operate.
And Matt has done that, and Bob, and you guys have been extremely successful. You did this sign-up sheet a few months back with the potential committees on it, outreach, and so maybe it's time to go back and revisit
Bring
that and
that back,
say,
yeah.
who would like to participate? I mean, I'm extremely interested in that number two, and David Foster and I communicate often around that, but I'm also willing to help with that outreach with regards to schools or whatever we can do with that. But maybe it's time to start to go back and revisit that so that you can be a lead on something, but you can't do all the work.
Yeah, I mean, we, for a while too, the reason we stopped doing the market is nobody was volunteering to help us. And so it was often just me and Matt there for many hours. So we just decided we can't do this every single month. But if more people can help us, then we can show up at markets and we can go into more community groups. But it's not realistic for it to just be him and I. Our daughter started crying when she was never seeing us. So we were like, well, we gotta do that. That's very important. So yeah, I can bring the sign-up sheet back and we can if we can get some new faces to sign up. And I mean, if someone drafted newsletter text, I could very easily design it up and ship it out. But you know, Matt and Bob and David, they're going to meetings, they're setting up things, they're writing our legislators. They're very busy, so I have no expectation of anyone doing that except for me up until now. So yeah, I can bring the sign-up sheet back. It's a great idea.
Well, in terms of outreach, I mean, I'm a member of the seniors group. Although I don't show up.
Well, you will now. Stephanie's club or something?
Stephanie's.
I think we should start small. There's someone she knows at the church, and you know the senior group. Like that's
Yeah,
Well,
Flower,
yeah, that's what I'm
Princess
saying.
Library.
Is that I will take the initiative and approach Stephanie and ask if I can show up and talk about the road at one of their meetings.
And Bob, I'll give you a few T-shirts. We'll give you some magnets. I don't know. As soon as we get this nonprofit,
Yeah, well, let me
I
see
think
if
we're
I
gonna
can
be
get
able
on
to
their
raise some money.
calendar and then go along.
There's a wealth of information to be had from like a group like that, because when we start to look at some of the survey that we did, Julia, and questions around, you know, how many people in households are, I had to laugh at the question, elderly, but then I went on to say elderly not able to get yourself out by yourself, like elderly, okay, half of the village, or more. But what do they need? What information where do they go to for their information as opposed to the younger population in the village? And there's so many rich pieces of information from a group like that around evacuation, that's what we need to start thinking about when we go to these groups and say, what do we want to know from them? There's one thing of what do we want to give them, of who are we going to be doing, what have we been doing, what do we need from them? But what do we need them to tell us about what's going to work with this? Because it is so much more complex than we think it is.
That's at the library too. They're having their run.
Okay, homework for Linda and homework for Bob would be your outreach efforts. Or
Yeah, it's not my only homework.
so you have a lot of homework. That's why I don't like to assign things to you. I want you to
No,
do
that's
other
why
work
I'm
you're doing.
volunteering because I know you said.
All right, so I think let's move on to the meat
You
of.
love me too much.
Yeah, I know. I can't
Is
overlook
anyone
you.
else in the room is anyone else part of an organization that they could maybe see, you know, a speaker attending from this group to speak to it? Is anyone part of like another church or another?
I can give suggestions. I'm friends with people. I'm not actually in the organization, but like the Waikoloa community, I deal with Sherry Davies all the time. And
Yeah.
I think I met the new person at the canoe club, but I knew the other guys, but they would be people because there's.
Oh, that'd be great, Julia, if you could just give us a list of contacts.
I just can't.
Yeah,
They're doing it all together, taking us out together.
Yeah, I'll get you. And friends in the library.
Homework would be to just.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'll get you the list.
Yeah.
And names and,
I think that's more impactful than just cold emailing. Like, you don't know me, but like.
yeah,
try-
no.
Or
So I
like
can do the
connection.
handshake and
Yes.
pass it on because I'm gonna be busy till like June. I
Could
can't
you
even
send
see
it
straight now.
to this Wildfire email versus our personal email addresses? It's at the top of the agenda.
The wildfire.
Wildfire@gmail.
Okay.
Because there's a few of us on that.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
And
gotcha.
you don't have to CC me, Matt.
Oh, okay.
Sabrina.
I hope I'm not forgetting anybody, just
You
throw
can
something
still
out.
CC people if you email this group, but
Okay, thank
include
you.
that and then, because I want to use that email for outreach or
Sure.
just for connecting with other.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. No,
Yeah.
okay. Alright. Okay, that'll be on my computer. Perfect. Yeah, I mean, next month they've got the 5K race, and so Flower would be a good opportunity to at least, you know, have bumper stickers or do some.
Yeah. It would be better if we were already a 501c3 because so far, Matt and I have been personally buying the bumper stickers, Serena's purchased the shirts,
Yeah.
and it's just all of our own
We're
donations. So
funding
we'd love
this.
to be able to get donations and then be able to buy more.
I will be the queen of silent auction money, let me tell you. I get fundraising, I think I did $80,000 for HWMO for 2 years.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Silent
And let me
auction.
tell you, I put the knee pads on and get them. Seriously.
Another HOH in the village, a small one, but I'll check with our
29
president.
Yeah.
Because we've got like I don't even know what we call it, a group, you know, within our homes.
Yeah.
That like we can give to you to send some
Yeah.
out.
We've not had much luck connecting with the other HOA. We talk about it, we've talked about it for a while, we just can't break in to their communication. And people don't come to our meetings from those HOAs, obviously, because we haven't been able to. So that would be amazing.
Do they have like beaker boards?
No, Matthew printed a bunch of flyers and he was like, I'm gonna go to the offices and post them. And there just were no such offices
No.
that he could find.
Huh.
He thought there would be an office like we have here and you could just leave some flyers, but
Yeah, no, it's
yeah,
just.
we just have a lot of flyers now.
And what about posting stuff like the.
Yes, so that was on our.
The van at the library, what do you call the?
Yeah, I already talked to them because I was trying to start the resilience on, because I have big, huge 8-foot wide by 4-foot high boards that I can donate and just put plexiglass on them, and I already talked to Kendra about giving one to James.
There's always a lot of signs posted on that rock wall as you're heading down into the village,
Yeah. and
where
we'll-
that new house is, on the
Or
right.
that.
Oh,
Just at the.
yeah, but
What's your house?
Wait, the one in the corner?
no.
No,
Oh,
he's
yeah,
talking
you're
about
talking
the
about
one
a different
that was
context.
Pontiolo,
built
Oh, on
right
Pontiolo.
Pontiolo, yeah.
Yeah,
That's your house.
no, right before her,
That's fine.
right before
Chris
her.
is about like,
Oh, Chris Morrison's
Yes.
house. Oh, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
2 houses down.
She's
I'm
the
on
new
corner.
There's a, yeah, nobody's,
Only James.
That's where the mayor was, yeah, it's on.
She's behind the rock wall.
Yeah.
This house is not.
This one is too, but.
I don't know, it's like a white cream colored house with like 7 sliding doors.
It's a new one that's being built, right?
Yeah.
There's always
Oh.
stuff like the mayor always posts something.
But that's their own, like the homeowners.
The homeowners.
They
That's what it
post
says,
those,
yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Because they also manage the Christmas parade, that's why there was a Christmas parade sign up, that's private
He does the
property.
Lions Club, which by the way, maybe.
But it's on the list.
Do we have a member at the Lions Club?
Well, Mitch Richardson is the president, I want to say, and him and Matt are on the outreach committee together. So we have connections.
So we should ask Mitch to get us on the calendar.
Yeah.
On the list, Bob.
Sorry, my homework is.
Yeah, I just want to see. Bob.
Yeah.
You gotta delegate more.
Oh, can you do this?
Okay, not to me. I
Sure, that's what I thought. I know, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, want to be mindful of time. Let's move on to an evacuation study discussion. And I have notes from my husband who couldn't be here. And he wanted to remind us all of the following. Let me find it. Well, let me tee it up a little bit more. So Hawai'i County got funding, got a budget to put an RFP out for an evacuation study to be done for Waikoloa Village. So they finally have money to do a true evacuation study. They haven't put the bids out yet, to my knowledge, but whenever they do, we would like to make sure that we are giving whoever is doing this evacuation study the questions and concerns that we have. So we are not here in this room doing an evacuation study, nor are we solving the problems or answering questions that a true firm that does this would do. We would instead just like to put together a list of questions and considerations for whoever is doing the evacuation study. Does that make sense? So even things like it should be 2 or 3 lanes down and 1 coming up during evacuation. Somebody else will officially figure that out. We don't wanna make suggestions like that, we just want to ask the question, what will the lane delegation be during an evacuation? Does that make sense? So Matt wanted me to caution everybody that not to get too in the
Tell
weeds.
them how to do it, just sort of
Yeah,
slide it in.
just say,
Well, we
have
want
we
to make
thought
sure that
about
when they
this?
spend all this money, that it actually answers questions
And-
that we have.
Yes.
So,
That's,
so one of the points of clarity is the RFP for an evacuation study, or is the RFP for an evacuation plan?
it's
Two
not for a
entirely,
plan. It's
two
not for a
It
plan.
wasn't
It's
for
not
a
for a
plan?
plan.
it's not for a
It's
plan.
study.
So what would
Oh
you
my
say?
God. Are
Well,
you kidding
well,
me?
but see,
That's
that's
what
what,
we understand.
I mean,
that's what cities and counties that did this, that's what they wanted. They wanted exactly what, and we've already, I sent David Foster a slew of them that are actually really good and have all the questions in it that we would want somebody to ask, and they were done by engineering firms, and so they're quite good. But it's not a plan, it is a study that says how many people leave the village at 6 a.m. in the morning, and all these various questions that we would then need to develop a plan. I just want to be clear that we're saying the same thing, because they did not write a plan, they did a study.
That's right. It's not writing a
that's
plan.
nuts. Is that gonna be a next step?
Supposedly, the study is a step towards a plan.
Right, so, but they only have the
But
RFP.
the budget is not
Study.
for the plan.
It's just a study.
Yes.
That's all the RFP's going out for. Oh my God.
Yes.
Where's my gun?
But who does the
It's
plan?
better than
Is it another agency they hire, they have to kind of sign the money for it?
So the challenge here, when I read them all, and so the ones that I read one from, a couple of them from back east, but most of the ones that we have came from California, and they came after the Paradise Fire. And the governor had then said, cities and counties, jurisdictions, he didn't require them, he strongly urged them to develop a plan. It's a disaster plan, so it could be hurricane, it could be tsunami, it could be, any number of different things, with wildfire being very much a part of that. They're very, very good. It is premature to write a plan without asking all these questions, because there's so many things we don't know. You did a really good job of starting that when you did it after the last wildfire. There's a whole slew of things. My first question when I read this, when I didn't live here, that is, what day was it and what time of day was it?
August 1st.
I know it was August 1st, but what day of the week?
It was on a Sunday morning. I was
See,
interviewed
school's
on
not
KITV News.
And so there's a whole litany of things that you ask,
At least not at school.
depending on what day of the week, what time of day. You asked me what we do with the mayor and everybody, here's my wish. I would like to take them down Hulu Road at midnight. Driving with us and saying, how safe do you think this road is? Because in the evacuation studies that were done, one of the first questions that they asked was, is your egress temporary or permanent? How many do you have, and how many are permanent, as opposed to being temporary roads? Because the safety issues with temporary roads is a whole lot greater, depending on the time of day and everything. And so anyway, so it's asking all those questions and coming up with a wide range of scenarios that say, it looks like this on Sunday morning at 9 a.m., but it looks entirely different on Wednesday afternoon at 2 o'clock when kids are in school, or midnight, when everybody's asleep. So,
Yeah, but there's also families that, let's say, are retired that don't travel out, so they're home. So they're not making those roads busy during those times, but they'll need to get out. So there is that, a different.
there's just so many different factors depending on the day and time. And I think that's the issue with the evacuation study. That's what that should answer, all of those questions. And a lot of those questions are already in the studies that have been done. I mean, they're extremely comprehensive in terms of, and not too far off from what we need, as opposed to what Paradise looked like or anybody else looked like. And like I said, I told David Foster I'd help him with that in terms of looking at questions and.
Yeah,
Well, I've not seen the product, but Supposedly, David has put together an initial draft for all of us to look at. How are we communicating that?
I'm not
I
seeing.
thought it was gonna be here tonight. It was not, right?
No, it's not here tonight. I don't know the status of it. I asked Matt if he'd seen it, and he said yes, but I think because David is traveling and wasn't able to be here.
Yeah, but I asked Matt in an email yesterday if we were gonna address it. And I thought he said it was ready for us to look at.
I mean, and then this is what you and Kendra put together, so is this one?
No, this is Julie
David
did this.
This is both of these?
Julie did this.
I did this 3 years ago.
This is what happened after the last fire. Julie started putting together
I did it
the
too.
maps. I don't know where the
I
maps.
didn't-
I think that's what David did.
David did the maps.
Sorry, Julie did the spreadsheet, this
I did the,
this one.
yeah.
Yeah, and that was the Google survey. After the last.
2020, December 2022.
Or two, yeah, sorry.
Like 3 months after the fire.
Yes, that's what David.
Yeah, so that's what I think, this is my first time seeing it as well.
Okay. What is it?
But it doesn't have, or we haven't been shared the questions.
Right.
That's what we want to talk about today.
Basically,
I mean, these are just, yeah, the different.
Questions on the
areas.
survey?
Well, what we're gonna talk about today is just the process for getting it out to our membership and feedback from them. That it's not what it's in here that's the topic for today. It's how are we gonna get feedback from people about what's on
How are you gonna get feedback from people with,
there. About what
What's
the
in there.
questions are.
oh,
Because David has put together the questions. The questions aren't here, that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
That's not
okay.
the subject for conversation
Right,
tonight,
right.
is what the questions are. It's how are we gonna get those questions out to our members and feedback?
well, you know how I got the survey done? I posted QR codes everywhere. I had the grocery store hand out little pieces of paper when people checked out. I went and put signs up everywhere. I was posting it on Nextdoor. I had people posting it on social media. And we got 400 responses. We were pretty shocked.
Yeah, that's
400
actually
people
good.
responded. There was a lot of questions. I mean, you can look up the QR code. I can email it to you guys, and you can look up and see it all. What the problem was it was so huge. I mean, it was so outrageously big, nobody could suss it. And I asked the county to suss all the information so they could figure it out, and that's what I gave it to David, and he did.
Can you repeat what you're trying to accomplish? Do we have to send out a survey, or you want to send out a survey to the community about?
We want to get input from the community.
Well, we're not
Yeah.
putting, isn't this just what you just said, like, we're not putting this together.
No, we're
outside
not doing the
agency.
plan.
Yeah, so.
We're doing the question. We're identifying issues that we want them to address.
Well, then why don't we talk to the county and make sure that they turn around and if we do the survey to help them with their study, they gotta suss the information, because it's a bear to suss when you get people to respond to a survey.
so in the
That makes
RFP, I'm gonna go back to.
Huh? Doesn't make sense?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, connect the dots and just be like, here's the handshake, we're gonna help you to do the survey and what you need to.
Does it say in the RFP, it's for Waikoloa Village, but does it say to whom the results of the study go to? Does it go back to the county? Because when you asked who then writes the plan,
Well, it's civil defense that's in charge of the contract.
in those communities that all did the studies across the country, it was, and that's, I think if we were at any sort of disadvantage, it's this. We're not a city, and so it went back to the city planners, or it went back to the county or whoever, and they wrote the plan. So in this case, it's written for us, and the study is done for us, but then who's in charge of taking that information and writing the plan?
I can ask Talent, I'm pretty close with him.
I
The
thought
RFP is not out yet.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
The
I didn't think the
RFP is
RFP was
not
out, and I
out
thought
for
planning, I thought he was saying planning was doing it, so I'm surprised civil defense was doing
No,
it.
at the meeting with the mayor,
All right.
planning said they were not.
It was Talmadge who told us about it. It was
Okay.
civil defense who let us know about it, but
Yes.
they also said it was gonna come out, I mean, I guess they were never exactly firm, but they said soon, and I wanna say October. So, and it's not out yet, so we don't have the actual RFP, we don't know who would write the plan as part of the step 2 after the study. We don't know. What we were hoping to produce from a discussion and from getting member feedback would be some sort of guiding questions and considerations for whoever was doing the study from people who live here. Things that they might not think about or realize. And Matt made the point at our last meeting that Waikoloa Village is demographically, very different than Lahaina. In Lahaina, it was a very tight-knit community with a lot of families, and we have an older population, we have some little families spread out, but we're not quite exactly the same. That type of information should be considered by whoever's doing a study.
Yeah.
That's sort of what we wanted to put pen to paper about, and then be ready when there is an RFP and somebody does win the bid, to say, hey, we've been working on this, and we have all of this information to sort of guide the work that you do. So that was the outcome we were hoping for. So I think there is room at this meeting, Bob, for some discussion if anybody has that input. And then we can also figure out a way to get membership feedback, but it's really challenging to communicate the message that we're not asking anyone who lives here to put together their own set of ideas on how to evacuate, what the procedure should be. We are not qualified to do that, and that is not our job. We just want members' ideas for.
I don't see how we can discuss the questions because they're not here.
No, they don't. David's questions exist, but like we want to generate questions
But I mean,
in this room.
but I mean, how do they create a study without talking to everybody? And, you know, I mean, that's
No,
one
I had
thing
the same
you're
thought.
gonna have
I
to do
would
what
hope
we're
that they
trying
would
to
come
do.
in, whoever wins, that they would come in and have a big community meeting, and we would do this too.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend my time reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, exactly.
If David
Okay,
has
that's what I'm saying.
already put
It's-
together a list of 20 or 30 issues, and can look at that and say, oh yeah,
React to
okay,
that,
that's fine.
Sure.
Here's the ones that I think are missing.
Okay.
I don't want to start from scratch
Okay.
and then discover that he's already done it.
Okay. That's
I
very
mean,
fair.
that's like a definition of study. You have to, how are they gonna get their information to do the study, you know?
Okay.
But I don't know, maybe I'm off base.
Well, we've got a little time, but we want to figure out how to engage the community more broadly. That's partly related to the earlier discussion of our outreach to other groups. And what are we outreaching to them for? Because as far as I can tell, it's two things. It's the road and the evacuation. But we don't have we've got a pretty clear strategy on the road. We don't have a clear strategy yet on the evacuation plan. That's what I'm asking for us to try to focus on tonight. How do we put together a strategy on the evacuation plan that engages the community? That we can talk about. Because we don't need a list of questions.
Just started to ask.
Well, I did have a question, like in regards to when you're saying they're doing the study and then not. What is the plan? Is that like, hey, everybody?
And all kinds of things, so I just think there are so many questions out there. I'm with Bob, let's look at what David, I sent him all of them. So let's look at what he's culled out of that already in terms of questions and see what's missing that might be specific to Waikoloa.
Yeah,
And then-
I've asked for that a couple of times.
Yes, and then go from there. Well, I asked too, I asked to participate on it initially, so I think he's so interested in it and so passionate about it, I think he's trying to get it done and.
Well, it's also been the holidays,
Yeah,
and we have a lot of family in town, so,
Ah.
let's be gracious
Yeah.
to people who
Yeah.
No,
are
I'm not-
volunteers and who have other things going
I'm
on.
not complaining, I'm just saying, I haven't
Let's
seen
look
it.
at what he's got
I've been asking,
and see
but I
what
haven't
might be missing,
Yeah,
and then.
I think that's a great next step, and I mean, I'll relay the message to Matt, who does talk to him often, but David's honestly traveling through the end of January.
The other thing I was thinking about, and maybe this is just really random, but like, let's say the county releases this RFP, right? So like, they say, okay, we got this money, we need a company, we need people to start bidding on it. And they don't get like great organizations or, people that are actually super knowledgeable about similar issues, like all these California engineering companies, then we all lose out on that, right? Like, then we all don't benefit.
We have 2 minutes left.
I don't
Let's worry about that.
Okay, but
They
they
say,
maybe
They don't- they're
we
not
have this list
restricted.
of companies and be like, hey, did you hear about this RFP? I'm a concerned citizen, please,
I agree, and the other thing is this is their first rodeo. They've never done, the county has never done this, so this is scary. Just
okay,
saying.
I want to be really mindful of time. The last bits, if anyone is available to volunteer at the next community market on February 4th with Matthew and I would really appreciate it.
I think we should do shifts, right? So it's a
You
9
can grab
to
me
11,
after.
or an 8:30 to 11.
Yep, typically we do 2 shifts, so the first 2 hours would be set up and
11 to
talking
1:30.
with the community and getting email signups. Then the second would be breakdown and all of that. So if you're available, if you want to grab me after, that'd be great. And I'll also send an email out asking if we don't get it.
What's the date of the week?
February 4th.
The first Saturday of the month.
And then the last agenda items are the 2 upcoming events. So we already talked about the Waikoloa Community Association meeting, which is tomorrow. And then there is a Leeward Planning Commission Special General Plan meeting, January 16th, West Hawaii Civic Center.
That's the same day as the CDP, by the way, but if we need quorum. But I just wanted to tell people that I've heard that there's a lot of blowback that's going on right now on the general plan from people saying they want everything that says anything about climate change taken out of the general plan, which is going to be a huge problem for our county. Yeah, it's this group of people that's screaming about all this stuff, and what's gonna happen is we're not gonna get any funding if we have a disaster or emergency if we take that stuff out, because a lot of things are crafted these days for,
Well,
I'm just saying, I heard this a couple of days ago, huh?
Our threat here is climate change.
Exactly, but these people that are drinking Kool-Aid and thinking there's no such thing as climate change.
So I
they're-
think Matt
I'm
was
just
planning-
saying.
I think Matt was planning to go. It's in our calendar. If anybody else wants to carpool or is interested, I don't.
Planning Commission,
I don't know if there's
But
any
the
testimony
16th
like last time.
16th is Thursday.
Yeah.
16th is a Thursday.
And it
Yeah.
starts
And
at
it's 9:30 to 4:30, and last time they had so many testifiers, they had an extra day added. So I don't actually know the format of this meeting, but we do like to stay involved with anything involving the general plan because we want to make sure it includes a second road for Waikoloa Village.
Did you get the email?
So
You got the email on the planning?
I'm just, I
Yeah.
don't know if I did.
You can quarantine.
Yeah.
Or to Wildfire.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the market is actually February 1st?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's February
It's
1st.
February 1st.
The first Saturday.
Saturday.
I keep thinking 4th, I know
January
there's something else
4th,
that day, it's not the market. And I'll volunteer day 9 for,
The first shift,
yeah, I want the first
the
shift.
AM shift.
8:30.
That way we
They
can go
also
early
changed
and
the
help you
hours.
set up. Yeah, they changed it,
They
was
changed
it 9?
Yeah, they start at 9 officially, because the 8 to
Sorry
9
for the
window
typo.
was slower.
February 1st.
Good catch.
I gotta look at the calendar, I'll get back to you.
Well, I kept thinking February 4th, I've got a meeting and I know that's not a Saturday.
Yeah.
So, or appointment.
All right, is there anything else? Anybody wants to? If not, we appreciate it. Appreciate you all coming. And the next meeting is February 12th. Now I want to double check myself. Yes, it is February 12th at 5:30, same place, same time. And this meeting will be on YouTube by tomorrow.